All right, we should be live. Let's go ahead and get started. Let's have the Pledge of Allegiance with Mr. Cody White and then the prayer by Ms. Kim Carpenter.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the snow we've had. We thank you for all those children who are in school and those who are home as well. Heavenly Father, despite the weather, despite the virus that continues to make so many sick and impact so many, let us still praise you. Let us still seek to do the work to glorify you. Let us still do the work for the betterment of our children, our teachers, our staff, and our community. Give us all peace. Give us all understanding. Give us healing. Thank you for always loving us, even when we doubt you and question you. All these things we ask in thy name. Amen.
Amen. All right, I'll call the meeting to order. The first item is the approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve it?
So moved.
A second to that?
Second.
Any discussion or additions? All right, all those in favor by show of hands? Mr. Sale, we're ready to go with a discussion.
The last time that we were here for a regular meeting, we had 4 of our schools come and present their NC STAR plans. At that point, West was not able to be here because of sickness, but they are here tonight. When we get to the place where we are in action, I will be asking that you approve West Elementary's NC STAR plan, but I think you probably should hear from them first. So, Lisa, I can't remember your last name, Waldrop. Where did that go? I almost called you, never mind. Lisa Waldrop. Yeah, Lisa Smith. She's their school improvement chair.
Good evening. How's everybody tonight?
Good.
So our NC STAR, I know that you guys heard lots of those last month, and I'm just going to kind of give you just a quick synopsis of what we're doing. We have a lot of good things going on at West right now. As you know, our NC STAR report's a living, working document, and we are constantly adding information to this. We added 1 goal this year, and we're currently working on 13 goals, or the key indicators, you may hear that term. We currently have 6 big rocks out of those 13. Those are the ones we focus on. We work on the others, but these are the 6 that we're really trying to get all of our documentation into and fully implement by June of this year. So the first one is an A107, and this is all of our teachers employ effective classroom management and enforce classroom rules and procedures by positively teaching them. This target's been completed and fully met by doing the first 8 habits, or the first days of 7 habits. So we've fully implemented this one. And this was done at the very beginning of a school year, and of course then we've had to reteach it some as we went through. But each month, the different habits taught, this is how we implement this. This helps us build leadership and qualities and self-regulation. Mr. Holden, our school counselor, also visits each classroom every 2 weeks and teaches lessons. The teachers use rapid resets to help students reset, such as pushing on a wall or taking a drink of water or going out taking a walk down the hall and coming back. So those are the things that we've done to try to make the classroom more effective. The second one is instructional teams utilize student learning data to determine whether a student requires a referral for special education services. The multi-tiered system of support, or that MTSS, you've heard that word, in the beginning stages this year. We have just implemented this year. It's a learning curve for our teachers. The system provides 3 levels of support for students for minimum and maximum support for all students who may need it. And what that looks like is they get extra help. So we have extra assistants that our county commissioners helped us secure, and we're using them for reading interventions. The teachers are documenting this to show growth and evidence for students with concerns, and that's been huge. So, you know, like we would do these interventions in the past, but actually documenting them so that we can look at this data and seeing how these kids are making growth, that's what this goal is all about. The third one is this A406. It's all teachers are attentive to students' emotional states, guide students in managing their emotions, and arrange for supports and interventions when necessary. We do this through Leader and Me. This is our 5th year using this program in our school. All of our staff are trained. The new staff that come in, they get trained in this. This year, the social emotional learning, or that SEL, that's another word that's used. This is really high on our radar this year. We have just tweaked out this screener that we're getting ready to use in our school. It's called the social emotional learning, but it's a screener, and it helps identify students who may be in need in different areas of this. Our staff are in the doors and in the hallways each morning greeting students. So if you guys ever come through really early every morning before 8 o'clock, you'll see us all out greeting students. We have a student of the month that are chosen from each grade level each month. And these students, they get to have lunch with the principal, and that's a big deal. Our staff members, we have a staff of each. We have staff from different, I think there's like 4 different areas within our school that all the staff's in, but they select a staff member each month too. And we've also done people encouraging people pals. It's called Pet Pals, and it's kind of like a secret pal thing. So not only are the kids doing some stuff, but the teachers as well. We've got them engaged in some things to just help boost morale, just kind of make our community work a little bit better in our school. Number 4 is the B203. The school has established a team structure among teachers with specific duties and time for instructional planning. This we were doing, but we didn't have it like mapped out in the past. And so now what this looks like is we have a NC STAR team that includes a teacher from each grade level, as well as assistants, parents, and other staff members in the school. We meet once a month, and that's scheduled every single month. We've not put it on out to the very end of the year because our schedule's been kind of screwy this year. So but we are meeting once a month. The other team that we have is the instructional teams, which are the grade level teachers. This team meets once a week, and they participate in professional development. They work on their data, curriculum, and other general instruction during the week. We've also developed an MTSS meeting team, and there's fewer members on this team. It's some of the members out of the NC STAR team, but it's fewer members. And what we do on that team is specifically help the teachers with the MTSS process and referrals. We provide information about interventions, and we've helped with this SEL component. We're getting ready to help them do that. They got to look at all of their children for that. And then the last one out of this one is the school community council, and this involves the PTO, and it involves a teacher from each of the grade levels. We've not had a lot of, we can't do this right now. It's set up for us to use, but because of the pandemic, we've not been able to do like dances or fall festivals, those types of things. But the big component in each of those is that we have an agenda, and that when we meet, we stay on topic, stay just that time amount. If it's an hour meeting or 30-minute meeting, we stay on topic with that. And you have to have note-taking, and that's kept in that NC STAR document as well. So that's been something that we've really had to manage and put in place. So that's that one. Number 5 is C201. The LEA school regularly looks at school performance data and aggregated classroom observation data. Use this data to make decisions about school improvement, professional development needs. The school-wide implementation strategies are being used by the teachers in a daily practice, using such things as number talks, questioning strategies, vocabulary instruction. We have school WIGs, which are the wildly important goals. We have those for the school, the teachers, and the students. Ms. Davis collects and shares data trends from observations and professional practice with the NC STAR team, and in-house professional development focuses on strategies that will be implemented school-wide. And then the last one that we're working on is this E106. The school regularly communicates with parents and guardians of the curriculum of the home and what the parents can do at home to support their children's learning. This was the one that you asked me about last year. And we still use Facebook and Twitter as a way to get information out to parents. But the teachers also, a lot of the teachers use the dojo, and it's a form of communication. We send home newsletters weekly and monthly. We've had Ornament Day and STEM Day in the past, but that looked a little different this year. We still did Ornament Day this year, but the teachers did it in their classroom without the parents, and then the kids actually, if they were like K through 4, they had to take some of their data notebooks. That's what we did on Ornament Day, was data notebook and ornaments. They'd take their data notebooks home and have pictures made with their parents, send that back, so we had some information to put in our NC STAR stuff. And then like the 5th graders, they're a little more advanced technically, and so they actually did videos of them presenting their data notebook to their parents. And so then some of them had that they had to check off something or they had to send a picture back. So that's been a big, huge thing for us, is just the documentation component of it. Do y'all have any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Walbrook.
All right, proceed with the COVID.
Most people are aware that Governor Cooper last week and the Department of Health and Human Services have called school systems to look at bringing students back into the building 5 days a week. I don't know if everyone in the community understands that even though they have called us to look at that, they didn't lift all of the restrictions. 6th grade through 12th grade are still expected to use 6-foot social distancing. They did lift that restriction for kindergarten through 5th grade. However, they did not lift that restriction if a school bus has both elementary and middle or elementary and high school students on them. So that creates a little bit of a dilemma. And I thought that probably tonight that this movement by the governor and DHHS would be a point of conversation. And I thought that it might be a really good idea for us to look at various points of data and get some input from some of our staff as well that would be most directly affected by that at this moment. I think some of the most important data, though, needs to come from Allison Cochran. And she shared some with me today, and I would like for her to come and to perhaps share what she did with me or whatever she wants to. I have already placed the chart on the tail end of this that she sent to me today.
Good evening. As you can see on the graph, since March of last year, we've had 16,344 total tests completed. Of those, 1,143 have been positive. Currently, we have 23 active cases, and unfortunately, we have 15 deaths. A little over a month ago, well, in the past month, let's rephrase this. In the past month, we've done over 3,100 tests in Swain County. 303 of those were positive, and we've had 6 new deaths in the past month. Back on January 7th, there were 132 active cases. Again, today we are at 23 active cases, so it's dropped tremendously. With that information, some people have asked if it's the vaccine or what's going on. I do not believe it has anything to do with the vaccine. We've only had the vaccine out a little over a month. We've administered 1,430 first doses and 205 second doses. So we just started the second doses last week. We are also doing an additional 400 plus, probably Thursday, Friday, a little over 400 first doses this week for 65 and older. As of right now, next week we have 100 scheduled for 65 and older. As at this moment, that is the only shipment that I'm getting next week is 100 doses. Of course, that could change like it did this week. As Mark said, the governor did come out and say he wanted kids back in school as best he could. Of course, he said kindergarten through 5th grade, you don't have to social distance. You can if you're able to. If you decide to go back 4 or 5 days, whatever it is, just realize that if they are within 6 feet of each other and one of them turns out to be positive, then everybody surrounding them within 6 feet is considered a contact and out of school for at least 7 days with a negative test.
Now, go ahead, I'm sorry, no, please.
What is the next level? And do you have an idea when to expect the next age level?
The phase.
Criteria phase?
The next phase will be determined through the state when they release that. Some counties are saying they're ready to go to that. A majority of them are saying they're still doing 65 and older. So I'm not sure when that's going to be. Honestly, I expect them to go to the next phase or allow counties to do that probably within the next couple of weeks.
That'll be 1C, right?
Yes, it's the frontline essential workers, whatever that, I'm sorry, I don't know if it's 1C or what it is.
think it's
It's
1C.
essential workers, essentially, frontline.
Would that include teachers?
That would include teachers.
Okay.
And I do expect them, when they come out with that, I think there will be guidance of who's first in that phase. Like, is it teachers? Is it courthouses? Is it post office and FedEx? Of those frontline essential workers. I hope they give us more guidance and just saying, because if they don't, it will be difficult. On my staff, it will be difficult. Just the number of calls and everything, that would be difficult.
Now, Allison mentioned that if students at the elementary level or at any level become positive, and that would include staff as well,
Yes.
and other students are within 6 feet for more than 15 cumulative minutes in a day, then that child or that group of children, however many are there, become a close contact. Now, our staff in the classrooms are doing as strong a job as they can to monitor where every student is, but I think that everybody probably understands that the younger the student, sometimes the more active they can be, and maybe a little less likely to stay in a prescribed area. So, that's something to keep in mind. The other piece to consider, and Allison, I really need you to correct me on this if I'm wrong. I'm going to talk about buses. If students are sitting on a bus, it doesn't matter if they're front to back and have masks on. If someone is positive on a school bus, we draw a 6-foot circle around that student, and anyone who is sitting front, back, or side to that student will be considered a close contact as well.
Correct. Just like in the classroom.
Just like in the classroom. Now, the reason I want to bring that up is because there has been some thought that it would take out a whole classroom or it would take out the whole bus. That's not necessarily true. But there has to be a level of monitoring that is accomplished as well on this. One of the things that we're looking at doing is actually not using the seat that is directly behind the school bus drivers anymore. Because if someone were positive on the front seat right behind the driver and then it could take out that bus driver as well. And that's just a level of protection that we need to put on. But what that does is effectively reduce the capacity of our bus by at least a person. And we need to keep that in mind. And that's reflected in some of the numbers that I'm showing you tonight.
And also remember, if somebody has tested positive in the last 90 days,
Yes.
and then they are a contact, say today, they're not necessarily put out of work. They can still continue to work as long as they do not show any symptoms.
Right.
If they start showing symptoms, then they have to be put out of work.
Do we have any data on that?
Yeah, if you know the page that you're looking at? If you look at the page right before it, looks like this.
Yes. I
Okay.
can see them here. Yes.
On the right-hand side,
7, 7, 4, and 6.
those are the number of instructional staff, correct?
That's the number of people that just work at East, West, high schools and so on.
Correct.
The number of
That
staff.
have been a positive
that have-
and are in their 90
yes.
day.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, if you look to the left, you can see some additional numbers. And Allison, if you want a copy of this, I can give you one.
Oh, that'd be great.
Here. We have, if you start at the left, we had 2 waves of vaccines that were given to staff. On January 20th, we had the first wave, and then the health department was fortunate to have another allotment. And so because there were already schedules in place, they could go ahead and give those teachers
Correct.
those vaccines. You can see the numbers that were associated with that. Now, if you look in the middle, vaccines requested but waiting, those are the staff members that have not received the vaccine, but they have indicated that they want to receive it, okay? And to my understanding, and Tommy, you please correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that that break falls within the 42 years old, 1979?
8, 9, it was around in there.
Yeah, somewhere in there, all right? Now, an interesting number is the column right beside it. You'll see the number of employees that have not requested a vaccine. And that doesn't mean that they can't, but they have not to this point. And there have been many opportunities for them to request that. And like I said, it's still available. And we still have some that trickle in. You know, they're deciding that they were going to wait, but now they're not, okay? So I think those are the numbers, Mitch, that you were looking for.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions about that?
Now, that's all employees, support
Yes.
staff, teacher, all of it.
Yes. Yes.
Well, reflected in that chart is just from the school base. That's just school base numbers.
So that's not including
Bus driver,
drivers, maintenance?
maintenance.
Okay.
Oh, okay,
central
Okay.
office.
okay. People in contact with, okay.
Yes.
That's
But-
just ones of direct contact with kids. That does include, no, it doesn't include transportation, so bus drivers not on there.
Okay.
But everyone in the school system was given an opportunity to
Absolutely.
request a vaccine, a vaccination, okay? I don't have those numbers with me, though. The spreadsheet king back here has everything. Okay?
Okay.
I know you told us before, but as far as the vaccine goes, how long after the vaccine will it be effective? Whether, I know there's not a set date, but
Right, if you take the vaccine, it's 2 weeks after you take the vaccine. The first dose is 80%. After the second dose, 2 weeks after that, it's 94, 95% effective. Now, that means you can still have it, per se. You shouldn't get sick, but possibly you could still transmit it to somebody else.
Now, that first wave that we had to come through to get the first shot,
Yes.
I believe we have a schedule within the next 10 days, probably 10 days, to perhaps get them a second shot if we have those available.
We
correct?
have them available. Anytime you give a first dose, you automatically will receive a second shipment of second doses, like 2 to 3 weeks later, about 2 weeks. So we already have those second doses for the staff that's been vaccinated, and that's February the 19th
Yes. Okay.
for both of those
For
groups.
both
So
of
around
those.
95, I think it was 95 people thereabout.
All right. Now, if you want to continue to look at the first page of that handout, we talk about how it's going to impact buses. We have several buses that are carrying not only elementary, but a mixture of elementary, middle, high school. And if you look down through there, an immediate location for the buses that will not stay underneath the social distance opportunity or capability are the ones that are indicated in red. We're calling those hybrid buses, and that's because of the fact that they have older students on them. Another concern for me are the buses that are indicated in blue, because those are elementary-only buses. That means they only carry elementary students. And if we bring all of our elementary students back 4 or 5 days a week, we will not be able to keep social distancing on those buses. It won't be one per seat or a brother and sister family sitting on the same seat together. Okay? And I want to go back to what I said a few minutes ago, though. There's a 6-foot circle that's drawn around a student, and that's active now. What'll change is there may be more students in that circle now if we bring them back. Am I speaking correctly?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay? Another thing to think about in this decision is on the right-hand side of that. We have the students for every classroom at West and at East. for their A-day schedule and B-day schedule, and then the cumulative number for those. And those cumulative numbers for each class are in the gray highlighted boxes. All right? And there will be some classes, if we bring them back, who are going to push past 15, 16 students in the classroom. I think it's obvious to assume that if we bring all students that are A schedule and B schedule back, that social distancing of 6 feet in the classrooms is going to be very, very difficult, if not impossible, to maintain. So that has to be part of the consideration at this point. Okay? Any questions about that?
But statewide, that has been waived, correct, for K through 5?
Yes, it has.
Only for K through 5?
Yes, only K-5. Yes.
Can I ask a question about that?
Mm-hmm.
If that, well, will the teacher or staff in that room, is there a way to make them be able to be 6 feet apart from the students and not the students amongst themselves? Or is there no way to keep the teacher and staff away, 6 feet away from the group?
I think it's very difficult for elementary teachers, particularly in younger grades.
I'm sure.
And one of the things,
I thought about the same thing.
one of the statements that was asked of me by a teacher on Friday really was a little bit pointed, and she tried to ask it in a general way. But our teachers really want to be able to run small groups because that's where some of your best instruction happens. And while they can do that, every minute that they're in a small group within 6 feet accumulates. So it makes it very difficult to have those types of small groups that they're used to having. Now, what are they doing now? Being very cautious. They may be using some small groups, but it's easier to make individual contact with a student when there are less students in the classroom. Does that make sense, Kim?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not defending one way or the other. That's just a statement of fact. Other questions or thoughts?
Well, one of the thoughts that I've had all along is, and we didn't ask that, I don't think you did. If in 2 weeks, let's say, or toward the end of the month, middle of the end of the month, we have our teachers vaccinated, then does that scenario work a little better as far as teacher comfort?
I can tell you from the survey results, which are on the next page, I believe that does play into it, that is a question that we didn't ask our staff. We sent a survey out, what day was it, Friday? Yes. And we sent it to 142 employees, not just teachers. And we focused on the elementary right now because this impacts them the most. Okay? And we have received, as of 12 noon today, which was our cutoff time. It doesn't mean that they can't respond, but I needed to have a point in time to stop. We had 96 responses. Okay? There are about 13% of the staff who are indicating that they are very uncomfortable with bringing the students back like we're speaking about right now. A couple of them, and through some informal conversations that I have, are very concerned about the vaccine. They feel that as a point of comfort. I believe there also is a group of teachers who are concerned about, so if I contract COVID-19, what's going to happen with my leave? Will I have to miss days and it be charged to my sick leave? And the answer to that is emphatic no. There are multiple leave sources that Tommy and his crew can use for that. But I want to go back. I didn't ask that question of the teachers, and if I had to do it again, I would.
And on the vaccine data, it says that it's about 60% either received or requested, and then 40% have not requested.
Yes.
Between east and west. So I would say 50-50, but it's a little more
Yeah.
on the pro-vaccination side.
Yes, it is.
Can I ask a question? Those that have had COVID, is there a time frame that they cannot take the vaccine?
2 weeks.
2 weeks
Mhm.
after coming out of the
Yes.
isolation?
Yes. And just know with the vaccine with the teachers, I mean, I'm saying it'll probably be 2 or 3 weeks before they can be vaccinated for the first dose. And then it's an entire, at least 28 days for the second dose. So if we were able to vaccinate within the next couple of weeks, you're looking at the 1st of April probably before they are fully vaccinated. And then 2 weeks after that to be actually 95%. So you're looking 1st of April, mid-April for that to take effect.
Yes.
The positive thing, one of the positive things I think is that the 75 or older crowd had the most vulnerable people had the opportunity to get the vaccine earlier than we did. So you might still have a spread, but you're not going to you shouldn't have a biggest spread in the age basis that it's going to have the most deathly impact, or not even deathly impact, just serious impact.
Correct.
Not that makes it any better, but
Yeah.
that
And I
does.
didn't bring the age chart. I apologize. I didn't even think of that today to show you. But 0 to 17 has always been the lowest number of COVID positives in Swain County. I want to say it's probably less than 30.
Right.
I mean, it wasn't very high at all.
it
No.
wasn't.
Out of the 1,100 or whatever I said positives we've had.
Mark, on this form, the COVID at the very end,
Yes.
the column, is that the staff who have had COVID and who are still in their 90-day period? I'm
Yes.
sorry. Okay.
And of course, you know, that diminishes over time.
Sure.
We had some staff members who were some of our first recipients of COVID, and that was an interesting way to say that. But they are outside of their 90-day window now.
And I completely respect people's choices about the vaccines.
Yes.
But is there a reason known why more are not wanting it, or is it just?
I
So
think,
it's age difference, wouldn't you?
pardon me?
Age difference, wouldn't you? Versus the
I
younger ones?
I would hesitate to say, I know that Allison probably has had more discussion with people about why they may not be signing up to get the vaccine right away. I would assume that there are.
No,
a
everybody I
variety,
talked to was trying to get it.
You know, I think-
Most of the ones I've talked to have felt guilty about their age and jumping ahead of somebody that was 65 or older, or even 75 or older that hasn't
Okay.
had the opportunity.
But not that they don't want it.
Right.
At some point.
It's
At some
not all
point.
cases, but
Okay.
most cases of personally talking to people. Not that it's a bad thing that you vaccinated
We're
younger
back
people.
on
I'm
the
not.
schedule.
we are.
Schedule B.
We're actually sort of a modified B.
Right.
We finally were able to get students back in today after some weather issues last week. Today is actually the first day that some of our A schedule students were able to get back into the building.
Right.
Because we had a weather issue. I believe it was a weather issue on the second day we came
Right.
back.
Mhm.
We're able to come back. And we also have to consider a lot of other things. The weather last week impacted A schedule and didn't impact the B schedule. So now you're kind of out of balance a little bit, you know. That's got to be expected
Right.
if we continue this way. You know, I mentioned a few minutes ago that about 13.5% of our staff at East and West are very uncomfortable. On the other side of that is there's almost 46% who are very comfortable, and over 17% who are somewhat comfortable. And from some of the responses that I got today, I believe that the teachers really do want the kids back in their classroom. They're just concerned for, some of them are really concerned for their safety and for their family. So I don't want anyone to think that our staff doesn't want the kids back. There's just concern. That's all.
Well, my thoughts right now would be, we're back on the schedule we were, to wait a couple of weeks and see if this trend continues down, see what the shot process is. If, Allison's got some good news on that we're going to be able to do those shots in an orderly fashion, and then we can then progress step by step with an educated decision. Does that sound fine to you, Allison?
Well, that's not my decision.
I know it's not. I don't know, it's not your decision, but that, I mean, it looks like we may have a little more that's going to look better enough for us to make that kind of decision. And that's just me. I'm just one person.
We are seeing the positivity rate decline.
Very much so, yes.
2
2-week period right now is at 5%. It was like
Oh, that's
14,
good.
15%
Yeah.
a few weeks ago. So we're back down where we were back September, October now. I mean, 23 active cases, it's 23 active cases, but that's not a lot at all.
And maybe if we do wait a couple of weeks, that will even be better numbers then also, maybe it'll be even lower.
Could be lower, could be higher.
We don't know.
And that's
That's
the
a chance you're going to take. I mean,
We don't know.
it's going to fluctuate. We're going to have
Right.
days where we might have 15 cases come in. Today, we had like just a handful. So that, you can't judge that right now.
Yeah.
You just kind of have to put that to the side, per se.
I think the most thing that concerns me is the bus situation.
Yeah, I'd be a little more
Trying to-
comfortable with the classroom numbers if I knew how to get them here without
Kim,
the
I
bus
don't,
packed.
Toby and I have looked at different varieties of ways of getting students in on the buses. We've talked about running 2 different routes, but that would require that we would adjust start and end times for the schools. And because by the time that you run a bus and keep everyone with a maximum social distance, and then go out and pick up any other kids, it's about an hour and a half to 2 hour turnaround.
Has there been any communication with the parents about who could bring their children instead of riding the bus? Or
We
is
have
that-
not had that conversation yet. No, ma'am.
And then the blue is indicated, that's only elementary kids, right?
Yes.
On that bus?
Yes.
So the requirement of the 6-foot social distances, does that apply to the school bus and not apply to the classroom?
For the elementary buses that only have elementary students, there is not a requirement from the state or Health and Human Service for social distancing.
Okay.
It's the same as the elementary schools.
Okay.
Okay?
Right.
And that's why I guess I labeled, colored them differently, Mitch.
Right, okay. Well, I was just going through the scenario, say that you could, I don't know how many bus drivers we've had that have contracted it, but if you had a bus driver that has had COVID and is in the 90-day window, and they were the drivers of those buses, that would eliminate a bus driver being sent home if one of those children on those buses were in the 6-foot circle. But that wouldn't help us in the other cases, obviously. But I was just going through some scenarios. So that's the blue buses?
Yes.
Correct, okay.
The green and red are
Or either hybrid of
hybrids.
middle school and high school, or middle school and elementary, however.
Yes.
Okay.
So when it says a 6-foot social distancing is not required for K-5, does that mean, is there any requirement to 3 foot, or is it
No.
just out of the?
No.
Just, they could be sitting side by side?
Just mass.
Yeah.
It's every other piece that we've been implementing, masks, hygiene, cleaning, sanitizing, all of those stay the same. Just takes away that one piece.
But they didn't remove it from the consequence of somebody contracted COVID.
No.
You're still
Right.
in that 6-foot
Right.
realm. Am I correct in saying that?
That's correct.
With that, the only wait in the time frame, I think,
I don't know what starting tomorrow or starting 2 weeks from now really does anything. If it's been waived by the governor, it's been waived by the governor. The only thing that I think we need to consider is, Mitch mentioned it earlier, is just allowing the staff a chance to get desks set up and get things organized like that. I don't think, if we have the ability to pull the trigger, then, I mean, we need to get the kids back in school. And I don't know what waiting any longer does with that. Because the numbers going up and down, I mean, it's going to have to take literally an act of the governor to change what he's already sent out and waiving that minimum for K through 5.
The only pieces that, waiting any period of time will allow is for those staff that have had one shot to get the second. But there's still going to be a waiting period after that for it to be fully active.
And at that point, we're in the April, almost to the end of the school year.
Essentially.
Essentially.
Yeah.
What were the county numbers on vaccinations? Do you have that again? Will you mind reading that again?
First doses.
Total people have been vaccinated?
Yeah. First doses was 1,430. Second doses, we've done 205.
Okay.
And again, we'll do at least 400 more this week of first doses, and second doses we'll probably do a little over 100, 150 maybe, of second doses.
Okay. Okay.
That's just the number that you've done.
Number that I've done, yes,
Right, that's doesn't
in
include
Swain County,
Hospital workers
or separate.
or Cherokee.
Right.
was doing
Okay.
their own
Yes.
county.
Cherokee last week, middle of the week, they had vaccinated a little over 2,000 people. I think last Thursday. And I know they're doing another mass vaccination this Wednesday for anybody 40 and older, I believe. So they're doing their phases different than the state phases. I just want to say what Cody kind of said. I mean, the governor has waived this 6 foot for elementary. So that's what it boils down for you to decide, is if you want the kids and your staff to remain 6 feet or if you want your kids in school. That's what it, I mean, that's pretty much black and white what it is.
That's it.
That you have to decide. I'm just being blunt and putting it out there.
Well,
And that's what you got to do. You can't look at the COVID cases right now and the numbers and such like that, because like I said, we've got 23 today. We might have 68 on Friday. I mean, we don't know. Testing is down, so our numbers are down. So you just have to decide, like I said, do you want the kids in school, or do you still want to remain the 6 foot social distance?
I'll tell you that we had 3 instructional staff members this morning who are still in quarantine. And then between 12 and 2, we picked up 2 more. So that's what's going to happen, And
it's not necessarily, they're not necessarily getting it from being at school.
No, they're not.
It's outside of school. It's family and churches and ball games and gatherings and just living life. It's living life.
Where are we at on staff as far as percentage that's out versus in?
We're at
COVID
about,
or post-contact?
right now, we're about 97% of our staff, instructional staff, in, even after losing a couple today, is some of the highest numbers that we've seen. Bus drivers, we have all of our bus drivers back except one, and that particular bus driver is not out because of COVID. There are some family things that are going on there. And we can certainly come back. It's going to take us, it'll take us a couple of days to get everything back in place because we have actually removed desks from classrooms. We can do that. We can get back to speed. There are staff that are uneasy right now. I don't know if they I can't speak for when they will be more comfortable. I don't know. Vaccines are important to some of them, but you hear when. You know? Joe, I just got a text that says that YouTube is not connecting, and I don't know if that's true or not. It might just be.
I'm watching it on my phone.
Okay, so it is. Thank you. Okay.
I don't think it hurts to wait another 2 weeks to look at it and see, because I'm afraid, my concern is we go too fast. I mean, we've been this long, if we go too fast getting it, and all of a sudden we have an increase in numbers, we'll end up shutting it all down again. So I don't think we're losing anything by waiting a couple of weeks to see what you can put together. We really got a concern about buses. If you got that many kids on a bus, I don't care what grade they're in, then you got a COVID condition, I think. If one person's got it, that's two. Buses are crowded, there's not much ventilation. I guess to keep the windows open.
Well, we're doing that now. We've got them dropped down to the first indent.
Okay.
But it is wintertime,
Yeah.
you know.
Because I'm like some of the rest, I think I'd like to see them get them back in class as quick as we can. And we were with, having 4 days. And that'd be our goal, I think, to take it step by step and try to get them back in class the next couple of weeks.
And that will continue to be my recommendation, is the 4 days a week.
Right.
Because our high school and our middle school staff are still going to be responsible for more than just face-to-face instruction. And that fifth day of the week gives them an opportunity to plan and work together to make sure that they're getting the best instruction every day.
So, last question I'll ask. We have, all of our discussion has been staff and faculty related, obviously, with the mindset of the students and their parents, of course. But we've been talking about faculty and staff. So what are the protocols if we were to change, for instance, say we said Wednesday, we're going back full throttle 5 days a week. Does that allow some of our students or some of our parents that have students that don't want their kids in a class with 20 people to choose an alternate solution to education at that point?
Yes.
Okay. So we
Yes.
have that in place, and that
Yes.
is, okay.
And there's a concern immediately that comes to mind, Mitch, and this is not completely and totally thought out yet, and maybe I shouldn't mention it, but we have to be cautious with pulling students out and then trying to put them back in, pulling them out,
Right.
trying to put them back in, because that creates a tremendous amount of disruption. We still have the capability for any parent at this point to pull a student from Plan B to Plan C, kindergarten through 8th grade. It becomes much more complicated when you're at the
Plan
high
C
school.
to get back into.
The high school almost has 2 different tracks of instruction going on right now, and they don't always coincide.
Right. Well, I was just talking about the K through
Right.
5 situation.
So the answer to your question is yes.
Okay.
Now, there's another thought that also has to be considered, and that is, I don't know that it'll happen, but if we have parents in the community that want their students to come from virtual Plan C to Plan B, that adds crowding into the classrooms, okay? That is a concern for some of our teachers. I have had that conversation with some,
Okay.
all right?
So your numbers here, the classroom impact component of it, that's just A and B, that has nothing to do with C coming back in?
That has no extra virtual students coming back in.
So if C wanted to come back in, then we would,
We would
what would we do?
we would look at the best fit for the class that we, with the smallest number probably to put them in. But that is a concern for some teachers right now. But that goes, Kim, that goes to the general concern of having more students in the classroom at this point in general.
So if we went with that, getting the students back as quick as possible, I know it's going to take time for the staff and, everyone to get everything ready. What's the timeline you were thinking? Would it be 2 weeks? Would it be a week?
I think we could make it happen by next Monday, but we would have to do quite a bit of planning, and we may have to interrupt at least one day of instruction. Wouldn't you say, Lisa? Not Lisa, Vicki?
I would, yes. We have classrooms that literally have 7 and 8 desks in them. Like it will be a wholesale, all of our furniture is in storage.
Yes.
On the stage and in every little nook and cranny that's not occupied by students. And so we would need some time just to reset classrooms and get them ready to go.
So non-COVID related, 2 weeks with no COVID not being a factor, 2 weeks would be a good time frame for just the preparedness of the physicality of getting the desk. And
absolutely, that
Yes.
would give us a couple of Wednesdays.
Yes.
Right.
For our custodial staff to move, to get the furniture back where it needs to be in order to make this happen.
Yes.
I think that needs to be the standpoint, because instead of keeping it in limbo and say, let's look at it again in 2 weeks,
Yes.
we need to give the principals, the staff, teachers,
A date.
kids, well, they just need to know a definite.
Yes.
This whole time, we've been dealing in gray area, and we didn't have a choice. The governor's given us a gift here, and let's say, 2 weeks, this is what, because we can always step back. We always know it's a whole lot easier to step back than it is to step forward.
It's true.
So, is to say in 2 weeks, let's get K through 5 ready to rock and roll on the modified A, or what that is, the 4 days a week. And if something happens, we can always step back.
Yes.
But I think that gives everyone that deadline to be able to say, okay, let's do this, and a light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak, for teachers, staff.
And Cody, I'm comfortable with that. I feel bound to represent the staff as well as everyone else on this, because I know their level of concern. I also have been the proponent of getting the kids back in school as soon as we can. I think that allowing ourselves 2 weeks to get ourselves ready, to watch the numbers if we need to, although we have to be very careful with that, I think that that's a good middle ground for everyone. That also gives us an opportunity to work with staff and see how we can encourage and perhaps meet their concerns. So,
We're talking about K-5, right?
yes.
Yes.
Yeah. We can't do anything in 6 through 12 right now other than what we're doing. There are some other pieces that we can look at as far as bringing a group of students back in, but we have to watch our numbers.
Hey guys, can I say something?
Yes.
March the 12th is the end of the 9 weeks. That might be a good breaking point. I know that's a little farther than your 2-week deadline, but I just got a text and somebody said March the 12th is the end of the third 9 weeks. So I don't know if that could make a difference in your planning, but that is more than your 2 weeks, but it would be a great breaking point.
I get that. I think I would be in favor of setting the 2 weeks at this point in time and then seeing where we're at that point, based just on being able to make it happen at the school and in the classrooms.
And I agree with Cody. Let everybody prepare that we are coming back instead of just waiting and say we're going to meet again in 2 weeks. And nobody really knows, so we'd have to wait another 2 weeks. So maybe get prepared. We can always pull back on that if something happens. And also, these teachers that are not comfortable, within the next couple of weeks, maybe we can figure out what we can do to help them.
And that will be one of our primary objectives, is to try to meet those concerns. And again, I think that there will always be a level of concern. I have a level of concern. We all do.
Yeah, COVID's not going to go away. It's.
But that's an important statement, Mitch. It's not going to go away. We have to learn how to work within the
Adapt with
boundaries of it.
Correct.
Yes.
And we got, is the teachers, was it 45 and above that were available, they could get the shot?
42.
We had a set allocation, so we were able to do, most of them were around 41, 42 and above.
So the quote older.
Yeah, basically. I essentially had enough vaccine. I said, this is what I've got. See me at least this amount of people, and that's where it worked to.
Okay.
I guess I don't know how the classroom works, and it would probably be more beneficial if I did, because I'm maybe asking questions that aren't really relevant, but if the teachers are maintaining a 6-foot distance, I know that they can do it within a 15-minute period, right?
Yes.
Correct.
Closer than, I mean, that, if it's possible to continue to doing that for the staff, may be an option. It doesn't mean the kids would be in that same setting, but that the teachers would be able to still maintain that social distancing from the students. I don't,
Well, and they'll practice that in every way that they can, you know, but that,
I know, I can't imagine how they feel. It's just,
that throws teachers back into an industrial model, which we have worked pretty hard to come out of. But this is an unusual time.
it is unusual time. It's unsettling for everybody, and I
Yes.
regret that.
Sacrifices.
Seems like we've asked them to sacrifice a lot, and I hate that.
I know.
Our staff have been heroic
They are.
in so many ways, which is not to say that others in the community aren't being as equally heroic. This is difficult on everyone. But I work with this group, and I know how they have, they've struggled emotionally and mentally, and, you know, you can't say thank you enough for all
I
of
was
them.
going to say, if we could relay how our appreciation and understanding as well.
I will do my best to do that, and I'm sure that there are several who are watching right now. Obviously, somebody has responded, but I'll do that tomorrow in an email to everyone.
Yes, please.
Okay? So, you know, I don't know if, Jerry, if there needs to be a vote on this
I think
or
we're
not.
pretty much in agreement.
It'll be the 22nd.
22nd?
22nd of February?
Yes.
Okay,
I think we're saying that's a goal, get prepared for, and then
okay.
If we need to, I can make a motion.
For the 19th, so first round, we have 2 shots to them.
Yes.
Yes.
let's do a motion just so we've got it on record. So if you,
Yeah, I make a motion that for K through 5 elementary school students to return to 4 days a week instruction on the 22nd of February.
Okay.
I'll second that.
any discussion? All in favor by show of hands?
Okay.
Thank you, Allison.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, ma'am. We've had a conversation about this before, but there's a piece of property on Alarka that belongs to the school system. Jerry, do you remember, or Travis, or anybody remember how many acres that is?
40 acres, I believe.
40? And that piece of property has been sitting there and sitting there and sitting there for a long time. One of the limitations of that property is right-of-way to get to it. There are a couple of families who may have property that butts up against it, but other than that, it's landlocked. It's just been sitting there. It's not in the tax base. I think that it would be good for us to discuss again, maybe moving that piece of property into someone's hands for ownership. For a lot of reasons, but I mean, obviously that's your all's decision, and I don't know what the direction you would want to go on that, if you want to do anything with it.
That's a property above the Larcos.
Yeah, it is.
Right? On that
It's
mountainside.
yeah, it's kind of back to the side of Alarka School. It's more behind that big flat field that Ichthus Ministries has use of.
Okay.
It's back up in there.
It's the old Larker School watershed.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's mountain land. It's surrounded by property. I've got a map on it. I got too busy today and just forgot
Was
it.
it donated or purchased or just acquired through the Larkin School?
They had it years ago, I think, I don't know how long it went back. When the old Larker Schools, that was their water
Okay.
source.
Okay, gotcha.
And so it's just a little, it's a valley, got a lot of steep land with it, a lot of timber on it. But there's not there's not any access to it.
What would
Except
be the process we'd have to go through to?
we'd have to probably ask for Chris and then probably look at a way of maybe putting it out for public bids with a minimum. I can't see anybody really buying it unless it's somebody that was attached, that had property adjoining it, because you couldn't use it unless you did.
Now, what about the funds that you accrued off of it? Would there be any stipulation on how they would be used, or?
That'd be up to us.
That's up to us, to my understanding.
My preference would be put it in, try to start cutting some stuff off that track area. But that's just me.
And that wouldn't be a bad idea, in my opinion.
Yeah. To see what we're looking at.
I think it would be a good idea for us to begin to look at that property behind the football field and to begin to clear some of it so that we can, first of all, we need that space for some things, but the community's been watching that property sit there for a number of years.
Yes.
And to show movement on it, I believe, would be encouraging.
Yeah, and I don't believe there'd ever be a use for that property on Larkin from the school system.
I don't think so. It's been sitting there for
It'd be nice to have.
dozens of years. No.
Has anybody ever cruised the
Sad.
timber on it or anything?
No, I doubt they have. I doubt if it's been cut, because when the Larker School was there, it was a watershed. You wouldn't want to build anything into it.
Right.
There's some roads, one of the properties on the southeast side of it has some roads going up towards the top of the ridge.
You'd have to get access and permission to do that.
You would. There's one gentleman that expressed an interest in it that would like to have it. But I think we've got to look at we don't want to give it away.
Right.
But at the same time, we don't want to just sit on it forever.
I think it's a good time to look at doing something with it.
Yeah.
We just lost one of our teachers. I better say that correctly. We have a resignation coming from a teacher at the high school. It's going to be fun to replace. It's all right. We'll make it. It's our welding teacher. So, do you want me to get in contact with Chris?
Yeah, I think we need to find out the process that we do it, and we'll see what he says first. I was trying to think I don't think you'd want to put it in a realtor's hands, because you'd lose some there.
Okay.
But we could put a public notice of it out there and see what happens.
And I'll get in touch with him tomorrow. It'll take him a couple of days to get back. He stays fairly busy.
Right.
But he'll give us multiple options, I'm sure.
Yeah, all we need is Kim's signature.
Right.
You're the realtor.
What's Chris's last name?
Campbell?
Campbell. Mr. Campbell.
Yeah. He's a good guy.
Yes, he is.
Those are all of the discussion pieces that I have,
All right.
and those on the agenda.
I'll try to get a copy of that property. It's a county copy. I don't know, you can go on a county map and you can see it too.
You can look it up on GIS probably, can't you?
You can, or the county website, the
Okay.
land part, and you'll see it right there. And you see all the owners around it.
Okay.
All right, any other questions or comments on that? Okay. Let's go to action items.
Is there
First-
any
go ahead.
need to go to closed session? Anyone? Okay. I recommend that the Swain County Board of Education approve the minutes of the January 11, 2021 open session meeting, the January 11, 2021 closed session meeting, and the January 22nd, 2021 special called meeting. You should have copies of all of those.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Any comment, discussion? All in favor by show of hands? Motion's carried.
For personnel, I recommend the Swain County Board of Education accept the resignation of Laura Holden as payroll specialist effective January 26, 2021.
Okay, do we have a motion and a second?
Motion.
Second that.
Any discussion?
Kathy.
Gibbs, second.
All those in favor by show of hands? All right, motion's carried.
She'll be a loss to our
Yes,
group.
you would.
Best wishes to her, though. I recommend the Swain County Board of Education accept the retirement resignation of Randy Arvey as maintenance director effective February 26, 2021.
We have a motion and a second?
So moved. Second.
All right, a second here. Any discussion? All those in favor by show of hands? Motion's carried.
I recommend the Swain County Board of Education accept the resignation of Jessica Hudson as after-school tutor.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion, second.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor again by show of hands? Motion's carried.
I recommend the Swain County Board of Education accept the resignation of Lola Thomason as after-school tutor.
All right, I have a motion, second.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor by show of hands? Motion carried.
I recommend the Swain County Board of Education accept the resignation of Brianna Stepp as after-school tutor.
Do we have a motion and a second?
Motion.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor by show of hands? Motion's carried.
I recommend the Swain County Board of Education accept the resignation of Terry Lossey as after-school tutor.
Do we have a motion and a second?
Motion.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor by show of hands? Motion's carried.
I recommend the Swain County Board of Education employ Tenny Brown as payroll specialist effective February 3rd, 2021.
Motion.
All right, we have a motion,
Second.
second. All right, any discussion? All in favor by show of hands? Motion's carried.
I recommend the Swain County Board of Education employ Sandra English as iCares program after-school teacher effective January 13th, 2021.
We have a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor by show of hands? Motion's carried.
Those are all of the personnel decisions that are movements that we have tonight.
Did you have one more, or you want to wait for that?
We're going to
Yes.
wait for that until he
Okay.
officially sends that in,
Okay.
okay? But that, Cody, that's going to be hard to replace.
Okay.
So if anybody is interested in a welding position, come on. I don't know that we have any public comment tonight.
Was we gonna take
You had
care of
one
the
other
west-
item.
West elementary?
Yeah. The Star,
Oh,
West Star.
thank you. Thank you for reminding me of that because it's not in here. And that's my fault. I recommend that Swain County Board of Education approve the NC Star Plan for West Elementary as it was presented to you this evening.
Make that motion.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor again by show of hands? Motion's carried.
Thank you for reminding me of that very much. We have no public comment. We had a work day on February 2nd. There's another one in March. We don't have any more work days scheduled for this month. Our after-schools program and iCares program, which are one and the same right now, is going very well. We have 222 students who are enrolled in that. Some of them are coming during the school day, and those are the students who are actually virtual, and they're able to attend, depending on which school they're at, they're able to attend either Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday at one school, or Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at the other school, and we're providing levels of transportation for them. And then the after-school program is also happening 4 days a week right now, I believe. The middle school has a daily program for their virtual students only on Wednesday because that's the staffing ability that we have. Right now we have about 60 staff who are helping work in that, mostly after school, but we have some during the school day as well. And that's certainly very helpful in catching our kids up. But Pam Cunningham, Jennifer Hill, Lee Hyatt, and Lisa Sutton are going to be joining as part of that staff. Those are not new hires, though, okay? As far as I know, that is everything that we have tonight, Mr. McKinney.
Okay. Before we adjourn, we'd been scheduled to go to the high school with the commissioners.
Yes.
And they're going to get a different date on that, and what we decided to do is everybody's going to go, we'll announce it. The same thing that I've mentioned, some of you, and Travis can help on this, because he and I have been up there and looked at it. If any of you want to go up and look at where we're talking about a track site, we can go up there and show you that so that you're familiar with it and give you an idea of what land we do have to do various things on.
I went up and looked at the road project today.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay. And they're going to come back.
Yeah, Chris Lee called last week, and he's going to want to sit down with some of us and some of the folks from the high school and talk about exactly what we're looking for there. There are some adjustments that are going to have to be made, including the batting cage. We're already talking about how to do that. There are multiple options. We're not going to lose the batting cage, but it may not be sitting exactly like it is right now.
Okay. Anything else? Have a motion we adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Second, all in favor by standing up and being ready to leave.
Thank you all very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're out, clear.